Christy. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to card 8 in my 2017 Valentine card series. Today I'm going to be using this cute set from Reverse Confetti called Lift Me Up, as well as the Posh collection by Simple Stories. And I'm going to begin with my Copic coloring. I was completely inspired by the gorgeous color palette in this 6x6 pad, so I'm using my Copic marker chart to choose my color combos, and I'm beginning with the E000 and the E00. So I'm taking my E00 first and laying in my shadows, and then I will go back with the E000 and blend that out using kind of a flicking motion, just drawing that deeper color out a little bit and then fading it off and leaving the middle portion completely white so I have a really nice highlight. And then I will take my colorless blender and just blend the edge of that E000 so it fades off really soft into the center. And then I'm just going to do the second giraffe exactly the same. And this card is going to the Cards from the Heart card drive, which I will talk about in just a second a little bit more, but I also think this color palette would work really well for a welcome baby card. So if you're new to my channel, you may not be aware that every year I do this Valentine series and it benefits the Cards from the Heart card drive. All the cards get collected by my friend Winter and sent to St. Jude's Children's Hospital and other children's hospitals as well. Unfortunately, if you haven't mailed your cards already, you're probably too late unless you want to overnight them. The deadline is January 31st, and they need to be received by that day so they have time to get delivered to the hospitals for Valentine's Day. But you can always create the cards for next year. It starts every year on January 1st, so you can be making cards all throughout the year and just tucking them away. Before you start though, please do check out Winter's blog for the guidelines. The hospitals do have some very specific requirements for these cards just to ensure the health and safety of the children. And I will have a link to that in the description bar below the video. So that's what I'll be doing for the rest of this series. I will continue to make cards and I'll just tuck them away for next year. So back to the coloring, I used R20 for the cheeks, and then I used BG quadruple 0, BG 10, and BG 11 for the birds. And now I'm just taking that BG 11 and adding some polka dots and some of the little pieces of hair on their backs. I want to make multicolored dots and a multicolored mane, just to make it really fun for the kids. So I opened up that 6x6 pad next to me, and I keep referring back to that and using my Copic color chart to choose my markers. So now I'm using Y17, and I colored in the birds' beaks and then a couple more of the polka dots and the mane of the giraffes. Next I'll be taking the YR01. I needed kind of a peachy or salmon color to match the pattern paper, and this is the closest I had to that. So I'm coloring in a few more polka dots and a little bit more of the mane. I went outside the line there just a little bit, so I grabbed my colorless blender and just touched that back up. That was easy to do since I had left that center highlight. I wanted to incorporate a bit more of a dark aqua or turquoise color, so I grabbed the BG13. And as I'm coloring in, I'm just trying to make sure that I don't color the pieces of the mane really close to the dot so that that color is just more spread apart across the images. There's also a navy in this color palette, which I think is really striking and interesting and kind of breaks up the pastel colors of this palette without it. So I'm going to finish up the dots on the giraffes with that. I still have a little bit more of the mane. I want to incorporate a few more colors into that, but I kind of left them to the end so I could see if there were any shades that were kind of out of balance. If I needed a little bit more brightness, I could add those back in. So I actually did go back in with the YR01, that peachy salmon color. And I also used those to color in the giraffe's ossicones. That's what those little antenna things are called. I had to Google that. and their tails as well, just for some more brightness. So the last little bit that I need to color on the giraffes themselves is the muzzle and the hooves. And I decided to go with W00 and W1. There's also gray in this color palette, and I hadn't used it on their bodies because I wanted it to be more bright and fun. But I thought this was a good place to incorporate that. So I'm just blending that off again, leaving a really nice white highlight so that it kind of fades off and doesn't lose that soft look that I've been going for this whole time. For the little ribbon that's going to go around one of the giraffe's necks, I used R20 and R22. Used R20 for my darkest and then just blended that with the R20. And then I just added a little bit more of that R22 because I felt like it got lost in just the darkest areas where the shadows would be. I also forgot to color in one little piece of the larger giraffe's mane, so I will grab that R22 and just color that in. And then I'll die cut these images out and we can move on to our focal panel. So Simple Stories often includes these longer pieces and lots of tags and things that you can cut apart. And I decided to use that for my focal panel. I die cut that with the Lawn Fawn Stitch Journaling Card die. And then I used a sentiment from W+9's Party Animal and stamped that with some Lawn Fawn Deep Sea ink. I also die cut a plain white panel out of some cheap cardstock just to make that a little bit stronger because I want to pop that up with some foam tape later, and that pattern paper is a little bit thin for focal panels like that. I also did die cut a small piece of green cardstock with the Lawn Fawn Grassy Borders, and I'm just going to glue that down at the bottom of the focal panel with some Tombow Mono multi-glue. And next I'm going to take the larger of the two giraffes. I'll add a little bit more glue to the back of him. And you can see I had to stamp that sentiment way over to the right so that I would be able to place him on the left side and have his head kind of framing that sentiment. And I love using Tombow Mono because you can wiggle it around a little bit because I wanted to get him perfectly placed so that he wasn't hanging too far over the edge, but he didn't cover up that sentiment too much either. And you can see that does dry pretty quickly. You really only have a couple seconds before that's set and it won't move anymore. So now I'll just take the second little guy here and I'm going to add him to the right side, just tucking his feet behind the grass. And so his head is just below the little flower arrangement there on the right. I'm going to take the larger of the two birds, and I got a little too much glue on him, so I went ahead and picked some up with the little ribbon. So the ribbon I'm going to put on the larger giraffe because the bow goes to the left, so it kind of looks a little better that way. Although I think you could certainly use him on the one on the right. The bow would just hang in front. And then the larger bird I'm going to put in front of the smaller giraffe just to kind of add some different variety, you know, like the small one's going on the larger one's going in front of the small one. And then the small one I'm just going to tuck on the head on the ossicones of the giraffe and just have him standing up there so that it really frames that sentiment nicely. My card base is a piece of MFT's Pink Lemonade cardstock, scored and folded to a standard portrait style card. So it's 4 1/4 wide by 5 1/2 tall. And I'm going to start with this polka dot print that kind of looks like confetti. And this is where I got the inspiration for the colors on the polka dots of the giraffe. And I glued that flat to the card. Then I'm taking this little print here. And I'm going to glue that down on the left hand side. And before I push that down too hard, I just want to take this little scallop border and I die cut that with the Lawn Fawn stitched scallop borders. I use these borders on almost every card. I can't help it. I love them. There's 3 different sizes and they're great for any kind of card. But anyway, I'm just going to tuck that down under the edge of the salmon colored print just to kind of break up the pastel color palette there again. I've got this little heart print that's going to tie it in for Valentine's Day along with the sentiment. And I'm just going to trim that off into a little flag end, and then I'm going to glue that right down the center of the salmon colored print. There were so many gorgeous patterns in this paper pad that I just had to use as many of them as possible on my card today. So I'll just trim off the top excess there, and then I'm going to grab one more pattern, and it's going to be this pale aqua with kind of a silver or gray arrow print, and I'm just going to put that across the card horizontally. And there's that Lawn Fawn stitched scalloped border die. Next I'm going to take some foam tape. This is the Scotch 3M foam tape. I buy it in big rolls from Amazon because I use it on just about every single card. And I'm going to put a couple of strips down the back of that to make sure it's well supported. Just peel off the backer sheets, and then I'm just going to figure out where I want my focal panel to go, and then I'll just press that into place. And there's a closer look at the front of our card. Super cute, I think. I want to continue the fun for the recipient onto the inside, so I'm going to take some Lawn Fawn Wild Rose ink, and now I'm grabbing another set from W+9. This is the Happy Mail set. And I took a sentiment that says, "Consider yourself hugged." And I'm just stamping that down across the center of the card. And then I'm going to take the smaller giraffe, and I'll stamp him down on the bottom right corner. And then I also took the small bird, and I wasn't sure where I was going to put him at first. I thought maybe it would look cute flying, but I decided to make him stand on top of the sentiment so that the giraffe can be looking up at him. So that's going to complete our card for today. Thank you guys so much for watching. Again, if you'd like to participate in this card drive, please check out the link below to Winter's blog, and make sure you read over the requirements before you make any cards. But it's a great cause, and it would make the kids so happy, so I encourage you to do it. Here's a couple extra videos you might enjoy, and you can always click on my photo to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Thank you guys so much again. Have an awesome day. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.